My name is Sam. Hi, my name is Angel. Hello, and my name is Susan. And we are here today, joined by Karen from the Buckeye Library, to show you how to make your own yarn dolls. This is very fun and very easy, and I'm Karen from the Buckeye Library. When my kids were young, they used to love to make their own yarn dolls like these. And not only would they make these yarn dolls, but they would put on little plays and tell stories with these dolls. They would make lots of dolls, lots of characters, and put on their own little shows. So I hope I can show you today how to make the basic yarn doll and that you'll have some fun making it. So in order to make the yarn doll, there's just a few things you need to get started. So one thing you'll need, of course, is yarn. I used 3 colors of yarn to make my yarn dolls. You don't have to use 3 colors. You can use just 1 color if you wish, or you can use more than 3. So whatever you wish, but you'll need some yarn. So that is number 1. Number 2, you need a pair of scissors. So be sure to have a pair of scissors. And last but not least, you'll need some books. And you'll need a couple books of different sizes, or else long side and a short side, either way. So if you have your books and your yarn and your scissors, you're well on your way to making your own yarn dolls. So let's get started. So first, to get started, you choose a large to medium sized book. So a book like this. And you're going to take the main color that you want your yarn doll to be. So for example, with this doll, which will be the one that we'll make like this, we will use blue because this doll is mostly blue. So you take your book, you take your yarn, and you're going to wrap your yarn around the book. So this is going to make the body of the yarn doll. So this is the biggest part you're going to make. So you start with your yarn and you're going to just wrap it around that book. And you just keep wrapping and wrapping. And if you'll notice, I'm not pulling super tight. It's tight enough, but not pulled tight. But I'm going to wrap it about 40 times. So I have one that I've already done that's been wrapped 40 times. So here we go. Here's one on a book that's been wrapped 40 times. The more times you wrap, really the fatter your doll will be. If you look at this doll here, this doll's pretty fat, and then this one I used 40. If you use less, your doll will be a little thinner, and this one I used a little bit less actually. So the number of times around will tell you how fat your doll is going to be. So I've wrapped this 40 times. I can set this down. My next step is to cut some pieces of yarn. Now, whatever color you want to use for these pieces, but you're going to want to cut about 12 pieces of yarn that are about 12 to 15 inches long. There is no need to measure. So about, yay, and about 12 of them. I have white ones cut, but you can use whatever color you choose, the same color or a different color. So we are going to take this yarn and we are going to slip it under our loops. So I'm going to take my string, I'm going to go under those 40 loops I have on that book, and you can see I've got it under all of those loops, and I'm going to tie. So if I only pull once and tie, it's going to come undone. So what I want to do is I'm going to tie that again. So I'm just making a knot. So just tie it, basic overhand, and make a knot. And there you have it. I've tied this on here. So now what I'm going to do to make my doll, I'm going to slip this off of the book I used. Set the book aside. Doesn't look like a doll yet now, does it? So the top of the doll is going to be that knot that I tied. So I'm going to hold that at the top. Don't worry about any strings that are hanging down. Hold this at the top and come down about 1.5 inches with my hand, and you can see like this. I'm going to grab another one of those strings that I cut. Remember those 12-inch strings or so that you cut? Take another one. And I'm going to wrap it around where I put my hand. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to tie a knot. Tie it once, tie it twice, and I now have the head for my doll. And don't worry about this string here. We'll take care of that later. So there's my head. Well, we need to get a body for this doll. So next, I'm going to come down from where we put the string for the head. Come down 2.5 inches or so. You can see 2.5 inches. And I'm going to take another one of those strings I cut, and I'm going to tie again. So we just tie, and again, no need to measure. This is nothing exact. You're just going to tie, and we don't want it to come loose. So we're going to tie it one more time. So there's a knot there. And look at our yarn doll. It has a head, has a body. This isn't quite what I want for the legs now though, is it? So I have all these loops down there. You can see it's still the loop that I had put around that book. We need to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is take our scissors, put them into that loop. Scissors in that loop, and I'm going to cut. Feels kind of scary to cut. That's what you do. No worries. If you goof it all up, you can either take it apart, start over again. If there's any loops that got pushed aside, you didn't cut through, like what happened to me here, I'm just going to take those loops and I'm going to cut them because I don't want any loops. Now if you look, my strings aren't all the same length. I can either leave it like that, or if I want them closer to the same length, I cut off any that are hanging down, that are bothering me. Okay. Now if you notice in my doll here, I didn't give her any legs. I left her with a skirt and made her into a little girl. But we're going to give our doll some legs. So what we want to do at the bottom, I'm going to take that and we're going to take your hand. Oh, I found a loop that I missed. See this? I don't want any loops that I missed, so I'm going to cut that again. Okay. But I want to divide in half. No need to count. Just estimate. Half and half. So on one side, I'm going to take my half, and I want to give this to be a leg. And this is the foot down here. I'm going to take one of those pieces of string that I cut that were about 12 inches long, and I'm going to tie them around the bottom. So get that tied on there. And so you tie it about 1.5 inches or so, an inch, somewhere in there, to make the foot. No need to be exact. Now if you wanted to put a bow tie there, like a tie in your shoe type tie, you can do that, like this, and that's what we'll do. Or you can just put the regular knot in there, whatever you want. I'll put the bow. Now we have to do the other leg too. So whatever strings are left, that's the other leg. So I take another one of those strings that I cut. And again, about inch and a half from the tips. I'm gonna tie like a tie my shoe tie. And our doll now, our doll has legs. But what's our doll missing? Our doll's missing arms, and our doll has a lot of little strings kind of hanging all over that I really don't like. So this is a good time to take a break of putting things on the doll. Kind of look at our strings. I don't like this long white string here, so I'm just going to cut the ends. Cut the ends. Our doll has this big long string. We don't want that there. Cut that. I'm going to leave a little bit there in case I want to use it for anything, but we'll just leave it like that. This white here, unless I want to make a bow, let's make a bow there like he's got a bow tie on. Or I could cut it off. It's still too long. Let's cut that off. I think that's better. I still don't like, these are bothering me. So let's cut those off. I'm going to leave these here just because that might be something in case it goes with the hair, or I might want to use. So for now, I'll leave that there. I might take it off at the end, but we'll leave it there for now. But our doll definitely needs some arms, huh? So to make the arms, we're going to make the arms the same way as we make the body. Except we're going to use the smaller book, and that's why I told you want some big books and some small books. So I've got a book. This book is not as big as the last book. And I've already wrapped the strings. Instead of wrapping about 40 times, I've done more like 18 to 20 because I don't need the arms to be as fat as the body. So I've already wrapped it, but I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the body, and that is take one of my strings that I cut that were about 12 inches long. We're going to go under our loops. I'm going to put a knot. 1, 2. So the same way you did for the body. And then I can slip this off the book. Slip it off the book, set our book aside. And there we have our loops. This is going to be the arms. So how are we going to make this into the arms? Well, first, for me, I find it easiest to put that where I put that knot, put this in the middle. See how it's in the middle? I'm going to lay it down. I have it in the middle. I'm going to take another one of my strings that were 12 inches long or so. I'm going to go under all my loops right about where that first one I had in there, but I'm going to make another tie over top of that. The first tie just kind of kept it all together while we were taking it off the book. But now we want to put everything together so we can make arms. So we tie it tight, tie it again. Still doesn't look like much of an arm now, does it? So we need to give hands and arms. So on one end, I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Okay. Take another one of my strings that was about 12 inches long. I'm going to tie it around about an inch up from the end. I still have loops on the end there. So don't worry about that though. We're going to take care of that in a minute. Wrap it around and tie a knot again. I take another one of my 12 inches of string. Now I go to the other end and do the same thing, about an inch up. And I tie a knot. once, tie twice. There we go. Doesn't look like much of an arm yet now, does it? So we need to take the ends, and we don't want all those little loops there. So just like we did with the body for the legs, we're going to go in the ends with their scissors. See how I'm doing the loops? I'm going to cut those loops. Cut those loops. Cut all those loops. Okay. And when I've cut all the loops, I look at that and I can decide, do I want it to be that bushy or do I want it a little shorter? And I can cut the ends off if I want and make it a little smaller. And I do the same thing at the other end. Go into those loops, cut those loops, cut the ends. Now these strings hanging down, I just don't want to have to look at that. I'm going to cut some of those off. Those strings in the middle, I'm going to cut those off. And this will be our arm. So I'm going to take our doll, and the arms are going to go right through the body. So I'll see how I can I'll make a little hole there in the body, put the arms through. And there you have a yarn doll. Now, this yarn doll really doesn't have much for hair right now, does it? Kind of has this coming out of the top. So if we want, we can make hair like this one has. The same way that we made those arms. Just whatever size book will make how long those braids are. So, to make the braids, I've used a pretty big book, and I'm going to take and wrap that book about 12 times. If you wrap it a lot of times, the braid will be very fat. I don't want the braid too fat. So I wrapped it about 12 times. And do the same thing I did with my body and my arms. So I've wrapped it 12 times, take one of my short pieces of yarn, about 12 inches long, and I tie it in the middle. Okay. And you can see I've tied it, and I'm going to take it off that book. So there's my yarn. Doesn't look like a braid now yet, does it? So what I want to get all these pieces kind of together. So I'm going to go and take one of my short pieces of yarn and tie all these pieces together in the middle, basically at the same place that I already tied, but I'm going to tie both halves together. So I tie it, tie once, tie twice, so there's a knot. There's this. Doesn't look like a braid yet now, does it? So we need to get rid of these loops. So we're going to open the loops up. We want that yarn. We don't want it in loops. So we put our scissors in there and we cut it. Go to the other end where the loops are. Put our scissors in that loop and cut it. Okay? So now we have it like this. Now if you wanted your doll just to have long hair, you can just put this hair on just like that. And now my doll just has long hair. You can shape it how you want. You could actually put in 2 ponytails if you wanted. Or you can braid each half if you wish. So we'll do a quick braid on one half. So when you braid, you divide it in 3 pieces and thirds. And we go over 1/3 to the middle. Start at the middle and over. And if you need help braiding, maybe you can find somebody to help you braid. And you just braid all the way to the end. And the bigger the book, the longer the braid, and the fewer times you wrap that book, your braid won't be quite as fat. My braid's going to be kind of medium. So you go all the way to the end. well, it's not quite to the end, but to about the last inch or so. And then I'm going to tie. So you take a short piece of yarn and tie it at the end. So you can tie it in a knot, you tie it in a bow, whatever you want. Okay, so this would be one side, one braid. Let's see the braid. And then the other side, we're going to put just a ponytail so you can see what that would look like. We'll take a short piece of string yarn. And we're going to tie it. And that would be a ponytail, so you could have a ponytail on your doll instead if you wish. And all you do is you put that on top of the doll's head, and those strings you had on the top, you can use those to attach the hair if you wish. Just wrap that around the middle and attach. And now your doll has hair. If you want the hair to stay down a certain way, you can use little pieces of yarn and tie it down. If you don't like something you don't like, you can cut it off. But there you have your doll. Well, I hope you had some fun learning a little bit about making yarn dolls today, and I hope you will make some yarn dolls and that you will tell stories with your yarn dolls just like my kids told stories with their yarn dolls. Have a good day. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.